I'm going to tell you this, with elevation comes separation, period. That's ultimately the truth. When you start getting around a great tribe, even though people fall off, good people come in. That point will happen where you're like, I'm not alone. I'm not completely alone. And in that quiet place, I really had to do some soul searching and make sure I knew exactly what I wanted and what I was doing. And then I became a lot more strategic with the kind of people that I was putting in my life in the first place.
EmpowerYou Podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you. Y'all, we are live for the first time on EmpowerYou Podcast. We're doing interviews a little differently. I told you I was trying to step my game up. Well, I was stepping my game up, and so I am. Just integrating more tools to make the show and the podcast more engaging, more user-friendly, and more professional. I really want to continue to deliver in a way that is top-notch, and so we stepping it up. So thank you all so much for being here. Truly, truly appreciate you all. But let's get to this interview. Okay. So listen. All right. You may have read the title. The title is called I Am Enough. The whole concept of enoughness, right, is something we all intimately struggle with in some area of our lives. And it's just, we got to talk about it. We got to figure out what it is that is causing these roadblocks. Many times it's trauma or other things, and we need a safe space to do it. And we need someone who's going to be super genuine and who will help us get through these conversations with ourselves. And so today, I thought there's just nobody better to talk about this topic than my good friend. And before I tell you who she is, so I met Auguste in, March. And since then, we just had a really great vibe. We were in a virtual event together, and then later got to meet in June. And she is just a powerful, incredibly honest, incredibly thoughtful, and strategic human being. It's just like you don't forget Auguste when you meet her. Like, there's just nothing you could do to forget. And she is a business coach, a mindset mentor, and has helped her clients do incredible things, make amazing money, and more than make amazing money, become who they are trying to be with that money, with that job, with that opportunity. And that takes a level of being a vessel that is just so important and vitally crucial for self-development. And so she is here with us. So I want y'all to really throw something in the chat or clap your hands while you're watching this for my good friend, Auguste Crenshaw. How are you?
Yay! Hey, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much, for everything that you said. And I'm honored to be here and talk about the topic at hand. And yeah, this is going to be a juicy convo. I'm ready to get into it and feed your tribe, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being here. I know you're super busy and you got people who you're helping yourself. So you coming and spending some time is really, really appreciated. So thank you. Before we get started, before we roll into these questions and all the different things I want to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what you're doing now, and what is the one thing you want people to know about you?
Absolutely. Well, I am Auguste Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless.
Yes.
That's a name that my tribe gave me, but it is the epitome of my full essence. Of course, I am a wife, I am a mother, but I am a creative. I like literally a creative. You know how they talk about the war with entrepreneurs? They got so many talents. And so I can take on tasks like using paint or resin and make things literally. I was a hairstylist actually for 20 years. I am highly intuitive, which is what took me on a journey completely out of my comfort zone. Got this wild epiphany one day. I was supposed to stop doing hair, go into jewelry design, move from St. Louis to another city, Houston, knew nothing about it. And when I got there, I realized that my calling was to be a coach. And so I stumbled into these internet streets not knowing anything, but my resilience and my relentlessness, I figured it out. Got a lot of ups and downs that I went through with trying to figure out how to make money online. It was not as easy as a lot of those 6 steps to 6-figure and 6-day coaches were trying to finesse me with, but I'm here. And I'm not just standing, I'm doing what I do and I'm helping other Black women, show up. And so the one thing I would want to be remembered for is the sister that helped Black women truly be unapologetically authentic. I want to be known as the woman that dominated in that, because I watch a lot of successful women damn near lose their hair because as they go to levels of success, they realize that it's still not fulfillment, whether it's a PhD, a job, success in their entrepreneurial endeavor. There is still a piece of our power that I feel that just gets neglected. And so we only show up so far. And there's always a safety. Yeah. And I want you to bust through that ceiling. And that's what I want to be remembered for.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that's a lot. I think when you talk about, success as being more than just, the amount of money that you get, but who you become. And sometimes you can get the money before you become the thing, before you become the person. And you can confuse the two and start thinking that your money or your monetary or possessions equate to the value that you bring into a room. And it's just not the same thing. And there's not enough of that you see, like everybody wants to stunt and talk about how cool they are. But the reality is, we have to be the person, not just accomplish, whatever, get in the bag or whatever like that. I think that is so incredible.
Facts.
Real, raw, and authentic, huh?
Yeah, I am real, raw, and authentic, but my tagline is real, raw, and relentless.
Real, raw, and relentless. I love it.
Yes.
That relentless piece is so important. So what is the first thing you think about, when you're thinking about enoughness for your clients or anybody? What's the first thing you think about when you think about enoughness?
When I think about the word enough, I think about just go. Like literally just go. This maybe this time last year, maybe a year and a half ago, I actually spoke at a conference that was called You Are Enough. And I was like, you know what? Let me look up the definition of the word. You know how we know what a word means, but you still kind of feel compelled to you look at the actual denotation and the definition of it. It really hit a nerve with me because it's as much as required. And so I'm as much as is required to do whatever it is I want to do. But most people, they don't jump and they don't do it. And I know that the reason why they don't, beyond the trauma, the negative self-talk, whether or not you were or were not raised that way, is that a lot of times something pricks your spirit and you see yourself in the future. You're supposed to be great. You're supposed to get a degree. You're supposed to start a business. You're supposed to be a wife. I'm talking about this is personal, professional, whatever you think. But then you're looking all the way at the end result and you don't feel like you're enough. And you know what? Right here, right now, let's keep it personal. Let's not even get professional yet. You may want to be a wife. You may see yourself as a wife, but you don't feel like you're enough to be one. That's because you're already visualizing yourself married, sharing the bills in the house. But you have to move in such a manner right now. present yourself as being available, and believing you'll attract the mate. We don't even want to go through the processes, actually. So it's like, know it in your mind that you're enough. Get out there and meet people, develop relationships, make sure it's the right person. And so that's what we do. Same thing with the business. Oh my God, I should start my own business. And we see ourselves knowing that we're supposed to be multiple 6-figure, 7-figure earners. And then we'll get scared and not jump because we don't know how to make 7 figures today. You're supposed to start at your space of enoughness. And at enoughness right now, you have the ability to coach somebody. And you know what? You might only have 3 clients, but if you go all in with as much as what you have in you, those 3 clients are going to be transformed, and you're growing, you're being while you're becoming. And so you'll be enough for this phase. And then you'll get to the point you mature, you can have 10 clients and you're enough for that phase. And so most of us, when we think I'm enough, you'll soup yourself up. I'm enough to be all of that thing over there, but it's not enough right now. So people don't want to embody the process. They don't want to enjoy the process and realize that there are degrees to enoughness.
Yeah, there are degrees to enoughness. You said being while becoming. That is just a huge, I don't know, that's a huge breaking point for me. It's like being while becoming. Sometimes you can get so caught up, like you said, realizing you're like, well, I don't know how to do this today. It's just like, but if you continue to be, all of these other answers are going to come to you and be revealed. Ooh, that's strong. Oh my goodness. What did you say? Enough meant
as much as required. As much as required. So think about it. I'm old enough to vote, so that I am as much as by age as is required. I am able to be a business coach. So that doesn't mean you have 100,000 clients, but right now you might only coach 1 person. But you're being that thing because you're enough right now. It's the unreasonable expectations and the faulty timelines that we put on stuff that makes us begin to examine ourselves as not being enough.
You are dropping bars right now. You said faulty timelines. Oh my gosh. I know about some of those, man. I tell you what, you put so many expectations on yourself and then you feel like you're not enough because in some time frame that you made up that it's not going to work, or that it's not going to happen, or that, you're not worthy to keep on pushing and to keep on moving. I think that's so strong, oh my goodness.
Can I share something?
Oh, absolutely.
I did a talk at my family reunion. It was a virtual event. And one of the main people that is so active is my Aunt Ollie. And she's almost 90 years old. And some of my other great aunts and stuff are there, and they are upper 70s, early 80s. So I'm 45. If statistically I live as long as my people are living in my family, I got a solid 40 years to go. So in the spirit of enoughness, with me being 45, it ain't gonna take me 20 years because I'm already successful in my business and growing. But let's just pretend I'm starting at square one. If it takes me 20 years to figure this thing out, I will be 65 years old, retirement age, when most people then end up going to get a secondary job because their retirement is not enough. If it took me 20 years to lock down entrepreneurship and gain financial freedom, the question is, would I be satisfied? And knowing that I still got another 15 years to go until I'm 80, or 20 years to go until I'm 85. To say that I did everything that was possible in order for me to experience the last part of my latter years, living and experiencing what freedom looks like, hell yeah, it's worth it. And when you stop thinking about things from just the scope of yourself, what have I left behind for other generations that are watching me, that will see what I've done, for my children and immediate family, with raising their expectation by being the visual representation of what's actually possible. I mean, come on now, it's worth it. So you want to have a goal, you want to set timelines, but you don't want to be married to them. because you never know what's going to happen. And if you go all in, you might trick yourself and do it more expediently than you thought if you're more into the process than you are the time frame.
Ooh, man, that's facts. I know. I'm a very impatient person at times. You know, I see things far out into the future, and I often can be a bit frustrated because I see things so clearly, so far in advance, to where you're like, am I just tripping, or does this even exist? This seems like such a far out there thing to really believe about yourself or about what you're capable of. And so you start to look for signs everywhere for that event, not for the pieces that will get you there. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. You know?
That's a very difficult thing for me. And so when you talk about, you know, not being married to the timeline and understanding that it's all just a matter of progression, it's all just a matter of moving through the process as you go, you know, and being while becoming, that is just strong. What was your breaking point, right? Where did you realize that you had to be while becoming enough?
So that's there's degrees in my life of when I've known I was enough, you know, but I like, for instance, when I was young, I was in high school and I started doing braids, and my aunt was like, "Ooh, can you do my hair like that?" I was like, "Yeah, auntie, it's going to be $15 for those dookie braids." And she immediately pulled the auntie card on me, right? Like, you gonna charge auntie?
Make me pay. You go.
And I was like, yeah, because when I want to like buy a new shirt and stuff, I'm not going to ask you to buy it for me. And you know, she didn't feel disrespected. I think she felt good. Like, oh, okay, Nancy, let me go ahead and pay you. So that spirit of enoughness to even be able to stand in that power when it's grown women right now, they got products and they're afraid to say what their price is. That level of enoughness was in me, you know, right then and there. But when I got into the coaching arena, that was a whole new level of the playing field for me. It was new territory. I didn't know what I was doing. My first major investment in a super high ticket mastermind ended up being a bust. I got kicked out because I couldn't afford the payments. But I was relentless, right? I'm going to figure this out. And so I was showing up and doing live videos, but I was still censoring my voice. And this will be part of the reason why you understand why authenticity is so important to me, because I was raised in a, you know, very devout Christian family. And every once in a while, I want to drop a shit, you know, or something, you know, out of my mouth. But I would still be presenting myself as professional and not being authentic. And I was wrestling with myself, and I didn't even understand that. Mind you, I'm a hustler. I learned how to do webinars quick, do landing pages quick. And whether the marketing was faulty or not, I was out there doing, but getting absolutely no results. And I remember one day just being so frustrated. And I told my husband, I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm not meant to be a coach. And I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this before, where you have said something that hurts you. And as soon as I said it, it's like my lips started quivering when I was trying to speak and justify why, and tears started flowing down my eyes. And it was at that moment that I was like, that relentless spirit has to come up out of you, because your soul is telling you, you don't have permission to quit. You left where you came from. You put it all on the line. You in foreign territory. You ain't got no family. It's just you, your husband, and these kids. Yeah. You asked me what I want you to do with your life. I just shown it to you, and you gonna have the audacity to tell me that you're gonna quit? And I remember crying and then saying, okay, I'm not gonna quit. And I reached out to a girlfriend of mine that was watching my videos from high school. And I looked up at the sky. I was like, I'm gonna be a coach, even if I gotta get my first client for free. And I reached out to a girlfriend and I was like, hey, you know, I see you doing what you're doing with your business. You're looking for a coach. I'll coach you. And I'm going to do it pro bono. And she said yes. And I had her sign a contract and everything, so she understood the parameters of how I wanted her to show up. And she started getting success within the first 30 days. She did baked goods. She went from like 5 clients to 4 clients. She got her first commercial contract in like 90 days of us working together. And then going to Toastmasters, one of the ladies said, "What do you do? I want to take you to lunch." And take you to lunch meant I want to hire you. Then after her, I started meeting people at networking events, and, the lady was like, such and such, said that I need to work with you. And then I finally launched a program at the end of the year, got my first 4 people to enroll, and the rest of it is history. But I got that momentum and that traction. And that's why I always ask people, what's your breaking point? Because actually your breaking point, if you're wrestling with showing up, is the opportunity for the enoughness to be revealed. And so without care, Dennis Kimbrough asked a question on a video around the same time frame. He was marketing the Wealth Choice, that his book, after he wrote Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. And the marketing said, what do you love enough that you would do it for free? And I believe that subconsciously, that's what made me reach out to my friend and be like, I'm going to do this, even if I got to coach you for free. And spiritually, I think I just put a ripple in the atmosphere, and I started showing up, and whether I did or didn't want to cuss or show up this way or that, I was like, I'm just gonna be me. And authenticity, that's a whole nother story with how it really came to life, but that's what gave birth. And I started paying attention to it, and all of the women that started coming to me, and I was like, oh, I had to break through so I could help them break through. And it's been a cornerstone of my business ever since.
That's so, you said I don't have permission to quit. That hit hard, because I think a lot of times we try to give ourselves out. And I know for myself, I've reached different points where I'm like, maybe I should do something different. I should, but none of it feels right. None of it does. None of it, the trying to fit in and the trying to modify, none of it feels right. And all of it just continues to remind you that you're not who you are meant to be. You're supposed to be exactly where you are, in full enoughness for exactly where you are. You're going to learn to be enough for your next level at your next level. But at the level you at right now, you're enough for it. And then, you know what I mean? So that is just, that's powerful. Oh my goodness. Listen, if you're watching this live stream, I want you to click like and click share. Share this with somebody who needs to be reminded that they are enough. Somebody who is maybe at their breaking point and they don't know what to do. Tag them in the video or share the video, like, share, all of that. My next question for you, is in the midst of the success that you have, in the midst of the growth that you've experienced, in the midst of your success, there is definitely still something, right, that you have to struggle with, that you have to continue to remind yourself, that you maybe have identified as being the trigger that makes you doubt your enoughness. How do you deal with that? There's people who they're like, I'm good 80% of the time, but man, when I run up into this right here, it's just difficult for me to overcome. When I run into, when I have these kind of conversations, or I'm around this person or this family member get to talking, or I talk to my parents or somebody or your spouse, and it just kind of makes it a faulty sense of enoughness. It challenges, it makes you doubt yourself. What about your life makes you feel that way, and how do you get over it?
The first thing I'll say is don't be a lone ranger. The second thing I'll say is have definiteness of purpose. And the reason why I say don't be a lone ranger is because even with me seeing what I see in myself, I'm a confident woman. So I see myself at a very high standard. But when I am involved in working with a coach, if I'm in a mastermind group, then the responses from the people and the expectation of the circle that I'm around to see the greater version of me then requires me to raise up a level. Yeah. So like, for instance, when you and I, met at the boot camp, remember, I was one of the people that was selected to get the deep dive. And the deep dive, I'm going to be vulnerable. I was just real with, I was like, this is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. and I was challenged on my pricing. I was challenged on my mindset. And so that's something else that everybody has to realize, that the issue with knowing you're enough, it never goes away. Every time you go, you're being while becoming. Every time each new reiteration comes, it's going to be like, ooh, wow, can I do this? The difference is that it'll become more of a fleeting thought, or it'll be something that you conditioned your mind to say, yeah, of course I got this. And so I remember I told Marquel, I said, I'm going to stand on it. I got a new client that's supposed to be signing up, and I had already talked to her. I left her a message and I was like, hey, when you come back, my rates is double. Now, I did what I said I was going to do, but that doesn't mean I didn't have like something at the pit of my stomach saying, "Whoo, Lord." Yes. And I'm like, man, like, is she still going to say yes? But not only did I sign her, I signed somebody else. But had I not had that conversation, had I not had someone else challenge me in such a very cavalier way, I probably would have still been charging the other price point. And I would have been like, but I'm good though. Because, some people can't make this amount of money I'm making for 1 month off this one person in 2 weeks of working, so I'm good. But that wasn't the question. The question was about what's the value that you bring to the table. Yeah. And so not being a lone ranger and you can't just pick any crew. You got to be with another crew of people that, embarrass you a little bit. So on one hand, I'm excited and I love being in the group. I love what I bring to the table, but I'm a little self-conscious sometimes. I want to make sure that my game is on point. Even when I'm showing up boldly, I'm like, man, am I talking with the right kind of mindset, or do my mindset got to elevate a little bit more? Yes. It makes me raise up in degrees. And so constantly being around people that give me permission to be greater reminds me to keep going up. And so I'm always, filling my head with information, reading, meditating. I am intentional about raising the vibration of myself so that being enough is not a trigger for me. But when it comes up, it's like, oh, okay, next level.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Oh, that is so good. When you talk about, being in environments that remind you that, one, you got work to do, but then two, that you deserve to be here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always a lone ranger, to my detriment. Sometimes it helps me do things because I just have learned to protect my intellectual property. But as I get older, I'm like, bro, you need people. Dude, you need to be in environments that inspire you. That's not all dry, like you can think yourself into circles and never arrive at the enoughness. You get caught up on the look, the logistics, the timing, the obstacle. You never get quite to the enoughness though. And being around other people who will challenge you because they see where you got stuck, and that is vulnerable. I think maybe part of being enough is being vulnerable enough to be yourself,
But it's owning your story though. When you're vulnerable, then you're saying that, this is all of me. So whether it's, the abortions or, like me, if I have to, I can get into that place without necessarily being Becky, where I say here, there, and care. I'm from St. Louis. So I'll be talking, I'll be like, look over here, there, care. Look, when you do it right there. I'm from STL. And so rather than police myself and make sure that, the way that I speak is good enough, I just said, hey, what I'm saying is potent and powerful enough that you need to not worry about the her, there, or the care. You just need to hear what it is that I'm saying. And so for me, I'm not trying to police myself. I'm very vulnerable. I own my story. And in owning your story, that quote that says, our deepest fear is not that we aren't good enough. Everybody loved the Merriam-Wilson quote. It's actually one of my favorite ones. But you got to realize that the vulnerability is how you show that you rise above your deepest fear. Because sharing all of the setbacks and all of that stuff shows how you were able to illuminate your light no matter what obstacles came your way, which then gives somebody else permission to illuminate their light and see that they can overcome no matter what. We got enough of the highlight reels in social media. We got enough of the people making it look like, oh, all you got to do is this, and everything is going to be poof like magic and unicorns and all of that stuff. But what about the people who need the stories of perseverance? Those stories are real and those stories are necessary. You don't want to just stay there. You want to talk about greater expectations and, making bold and big moves. But everybody that's done anything great got a story to tell.
Thanks for listening to EmpowerYou Podcast. I want to take a second and tell you about a service I've been using that has literally changed my life. Akita Ricks, the founder of SawYourScore.com, helped me erase negative items on my credit score, provided me a clear path to improving my credit, and raised my score by 100 points in the first 90 days. Like, whoa. The best part about all of this is all I had to do was follow instructions. Now, if you're like me and you need a credit bestie, you need to click the link below and schedule your absolutely free discovery call today. Tell them Kid Boy sent you.
How many? They've started 17 businesses before they started the one they got now. That's what one of the speakers was talking about this weekend. They made 17 flops. Now they started this business and they launched it in January, hit 7 figures by September. But don't you realize that everything they did in all the other businesses prepared them, mastering marketing, their messaging, understanding, networking, and the audience and the tribe that they built up? We can't forsake every stepping stone and even the mistakes that we made, the shitty cards that we were dealt. It's not that we say it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. But then we don't want to own the story that we had to respond to. Yeah. And owning the story and the failures along the way. I believe in getting things wrong. It's hard. I know it is for a lot of folks, for myself included. Your ego gets damaged and things like that. But, I've been giving myself, just something I've been working on is just not caring, doing it because it's the right thing to do, doing it because this is what you feel compelled to do. And for myself, I don't have any children. I'm single, so there's even less excuse. Anything else is just fear, in my opinion. I understand you got to calculate things, you got to be mindful, but you also have to go with your intuition and understand that, you're probably right about yourself. You may need help, but you're probably right about yourself. You know what I mean? What was the... Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm good. You good.
What did you start to notice about your environment when you started to embrace your enoughness? Did you have to change friends? Did you have to change environments? Did you change jobs? Because, with big shifts for me, everything in my life changes. I don't be talking to the same people anymore. Folks will write me off. People want to, drop up out your life or whatever, which is cool. I mean, people got to do what they got to do. But I noticed there's always a mass exodus of company, when you really get dialed in. And I think that's one of the reasons why I, and maybe other people who are watching this live, why you tend to be the lone wolf, right? It's because you realize every time I level up, everybody drops off anyway. So why should I even try to connect with other people?
I'm going to tell you this, with elevation comes separation, period. That's ultimately the truth. But when you start getting around a great tribe, even though people fall off, good people come in. That point will happen where you're like, I'm not alone. I'm not completely alone. The ideal of being alone as an entrepreneur, that has a lot to do with you just developing that tribe and developing good company. I was in St. Louis doing hair, started designing jewelry, was selling jewelry to my clients, and I felt another level of expansion. So for me, the transition, I did have to change location from one city to another. And that was an intuitive move. But then even when I got to that city in particular, there was one cousin that lived there, and it was like a rekindling of the relationship. But as long as I was trying to find myself, because it didn't happen immediately. It was about a little bit over a year, maybe a year and a month after I had been in Houston before I recognized what the call was. I had a good friend that was excited, with me. She was like, yeah, girl, you should do it and do your YouTube videos and all of that stuff. She came out dissing after the first couple of videos, not constructive criticism. Trust me, I know the difference. And I had a cousin that, it was like, Dad, and he didn't have to do this because people are not supposed to support your business. You're supposed to intentionally build a machine that attracts the people you're supposed to help. But I had a cousin that I just felt like he would support me to the degree that he wanted to. I got you, cuz, I'm going to share this, I'm going to share that. But it's like, here's share a video of people skateboarding off of a rail and busting their balls, before he would share my books. And if I would want to talk to him about, my dreams and my vision, that wasn't where his head was at. He was comfortable. He had a job paying him a lot of money. So I couldn't get motivated, I would never get discouraged, but it just didn't feel as good, talking to him. So I already didn't have that much. So for a season, I was kind of by myself. And in that quiet place, I really had to do some soul searching and make sure I knew exactly what I wanted and what I was doing. And then I became a lot more strategic with the kind of people that I was putting in my life in the first place. But even as a coach, there are some things that you learn as you go. I've had clients that have experienced tremendous results with me, but then they dropped off the face of the earth. And it's like, damn, you already damaged. You got your own trauma. Like, you be thinking like, what did I do? And I'm said after a while, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't do nothing. They came and got what they wanted from me, and now they want to walk around like they did what they did without me, Whereas I've had other people that are like, August is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and she's been here. So there's even been clients that I've lost. What about when I elevated in my thinking and, you tell the people that, hey, this is the new price point, this is the new direction of the business. And it was like, shoot, I was going to pay you when you was charging this much, but you want how much? And it's like, for real? And so, you do find people falling off, but and even in being in masterminds, everybody's not really going to want to go all the way out. So you'll begin to realize that there are certain people in masterminds that gravitate to, one another. And there are people that say they're all in and then they fall off and they quit. So yeah, with elevation comes separation. It just comes with the territory. But eventually there are still key people that will always be in your life, so that when you need that voice of reason, when you need someone to reach out to, you may not talk to them all the time, but you've got that inner circle. You got those people that you can lean in on, so you're not by yourself when it's most critical.
Yeah, when it's most critical. I am terrible at recognizing that I am, you know how like when your phone is dying, right? And you look up and all of a sudden you're on 5%. That's me. Like, I'll look up from doing whatever I'm doing or grinding or working or doing whatever, and I'll realize, bro, you haven't ate all day. You're not taking care of yourself. And that's a part of enoughness, right? You're good enough to take a break, bro. You're good enough to go, buy yourself a nice meal and it doesn't always have to be just like grueling self-development and work, and so for me, even hearing what you're saying about having the right people in the right moments is so impactful, because I do, have people like you, who, and I called you a couple weeks ago. Y'all don't know about this, but I called August a couple weeks ago. I was like having a time, y'all. Like, I felt like I was just kind of losing my mind a little bit, which happens, when you're going through a process. You really do have to grieve the you that used to be. You got to let go and empty yourself of a lot of things. And sometimes your trauma, your insecurities, whatever it is, those have been your riding buddies. You've known them longer than you've known anything else about yourself. So why should I not, hold on to these ideas I have about myself, even if they're damaging, right? It's just like bad relationships. This is what I'm used to. And so I called August. It was just incredible. And it was one of those conversations where it was the right person at the right moment. And I'm learning as I get older and in trying to and becoming more secure in my own enoughness, that you really don't need all that much. You need work that fulfills you, and you need people who fill your cup. And if those people aren't around you, you got to find them. I had to join masterminds and things like that in order to find people that fill my cup. Although I do have some really solid friends and people who live here in Fort Wayne. But it's that process of understanding that you need somebody, and you're enough for somebody to show up for you. That is like a huge issue for me, and I hope if you're watching this, you'll share with somebody who you feel like is going through that as well, because people who are the strongest tend to suffer a lot in silence, and I definitely relate to that. What was how do you pick your community to secure your enoughness? I think that's how I want to say that. I had like a rush of words all of a sudden. How do you?
No, I got you.
How do you pick your community to reinforce that enoughness? Even if it's not in business, or it's not with whatever your industry is, how do you actually cultivate a community that enforces that enoughness?
By being authentic. There is everywhere I am, and in everything that I do, I show up as Auguste. And it's funny, right? Because just so people know, I'm open spiritually. I was raised in the church, like I said, major devout Christians. But me, I'm a spiritual being, and I believe that God cannot be put inside of a box. But when I was speaking at the family reunion, I'm speaking to predominantly, super mega maxi save in the name of Jesus, type of people. And so I'm in there and I'm talking, and I'm even using the scriptures and doing what I'm doing, because I still, believe in biblical truths. There are some truths. But if you promising me that I'm the head and not the tail, I like that scripture because it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in there and I'm talking, and, they were getting excited. And I was like, hey, but before any of y'all get too excited, I know I'm a business coach and all of that. I'm just feeding the family right now for this event. Don't send me no friend requests, because half of y'all ain't going to accept it no way, because I cuss a lot. I have half of y'all somewhere fasting and praying, because you be like, oh my God, what's wrong with August? I said this in the middle of the talk, so it's not like when I'm around them, I want them to see that, August that went to church remembers the scriptures, that says, all things are working for your good. Yeah, I quote the scriptures, but, I'm the kind of person that I might have said Jesus and shit in the same sentence at the same time. And I feel very good and comfortable at where I'm at. And for somebody that's even listening to your podcast, I'm like, oh my God. Well, guess what? They will not try to be my friend. Why? Because I am being me. And so me being able to be me is part of the reason why I move forward with the mastermind that we're in now. Yeah. Because think about it. Remember on some of the calls, and one of the calls, I was like, hold up, I'm just, I'm like one of the coaches. I ain't trying to be funny, but y'all in here saying X, Y, and Z. And when I look in the group, I don't see no post. Y'all wasn't ask for no help. You ain't do this. You have CEO mentality, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if after this over with, they gonna be like, we appreciate you trying to empower the tribe. However, next time, perhaps I'm ready for it because I've experienced it. But that's not what happened. And even now, I don't always have something to say, but weeks ago, it happened with another gentleman. And I was like, hey, I ain't even trying to be funny. You looking at this like this, whoop, 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 whoop. And he actually came into the group and was like, I appreciate the things that August said. It gave me my mojo back. And then I secured a $15K deal and got $10K up front or something like that, just because of what, and the coach's response was power of a mastermind. So
that's right.
Does that mean that people are always going to love me? No. Does that mean they're always going to like everything I say? No, because relationships are real and there are dynamics, but the overall core essence of my being is there. It's allowed to be there. And so I do the same thing, even when I'm talking to people, when I'm on my sales call, I'm not sitting there trying to make sure that I'm talking or feel. I'm like, okay, what's up? What's good? You can't, like, for instance, on the sales call, you can't be a person that's like, so you ain't got no credit card, without sounding like you just trying to make somebody go into debt.
Right.
But somebody like me might be able to say, because I'll be like, wait a minute. So you came on this call, you told me that you want X, Y, and Z and so on and so forth. And you actually got the money available on a card. So you ain't got enough faith that you can actually deploy the tactics that's going to be taught to you so you can pay your credit card bill. You know what I'm saying? Me, I could do that and not feel bad about saying that, because that's how I genuinely feel. I'm not scripted. I'm authentic. So it doesn't matter where you catch me at. You catch me at a birthday party. You catch me if I do go to a church event. You catch me here on your podcast. August shows up as August with all of my opinions, with all of my beauty, with all of my flaws. I'm not perfect. And then I pay attention to how people receive me. And if you receive me, great. And if you don't, I'm not going to try to make you like me. I'm not a people pleaser. So the likelihood that I have people around me that don't really love me is slim. And if you are faking, you can only fake for so long, because I'm going to be so raw and so real and so authentic, it will repulse you to your stomach if you are a fraud. Period.
Whew. That's strong. And I think that's so important, that we feel and know that we're enough to take up room, even if it makes other people uncomfortable, even if, other people can't, understand where you from or what fuels your passion or why you speak the way you do, why you look the way you do. You still are valuable and enough to take up space. That's huge. And being that way all the time, even though, it sounds simple the way you say it, it's an act of bravery to show up as yourself constantly. And it's something I'm growing into, because I grew up being super tolerable, like being very, and I think there's good things about that. But I also have to know what I am and am not going to do, what I am and am not going to take, what I am and am not going to deal with, and that enoughness has been a journey for me. That's why I get so inspired. I've sent your videos to I don't know how many people, just because I'm like,
oh, I appreciate it.
Because you just be preaching, and I think it's so important that we understand, like, there's a connection between the two. You can't build real community unless you do know that you're enough to have real community. Otherwise, like you said, you're gonna have people around you who are just not truly for you. You know
why a lot of people do that, though? It between society, religion, government, education, they're like all of these so-called rules of engagement. You know what I'm saying? That exists. And I want to just share this story. I'll make it really brief. When I was heavy into the church, I was going to this church where there was a pastor who had a PhD in psychology, and he actually was very manipulative over the congregation. And so when I realized it, the short version of it is I met with him to talk to him and in the most polite way, say, I see you, but hey, maybe you're not trying to do this, but maybe, you need to fix it. And it was like, huh? And in the Bible, it says that if you had an issue with a brother, you're supposed to take it to him. And then the second time, you're supposed to take a witness. So then I had a meeting with him, and, one of the ladies that worked at the church didn't know it was his baby mama. That's a whole nother other story. Yeah, this is a messy story. But I'm trying to exercise, sound biblical principles. And so one weekend, it was on a Thursday, I felt it in my spirit that I was supposed to do an absolute fast. And so that meant no water, no food. Only time water touched my mouth was when I brushed my teeth. And I did. It was the first time I ever did anything like that. And I knew it had something to do with this pastor. I got all these like different confirmations, people that I didn't even know that was saved, that I used to club with, saying, hey, I was reading the Bible. I read this passage about speak the truth and such and such and such. And so it was confirmation for me that whatever dialogue I was going to have with this pastor, I was supposed to have it. But I was scared, right? And this, because the fear will make your authenticity disappear. Because you got to realize this is a bold move to even bring something like this to a pastor of a church. I should be nervous, right? Am I enough to say something to him? Have I studied enough of the Bible? How many years? How smart is he? And, I'm not even in my, barely, I think I'm barely not even 30 yet. You know what I'm saying? And so I read the scripture in the Bible, and the short version of it is Paul had said he had to withstand the disciple Peter because of the way that he was discriminating against the Gentiles in the church. And I read the scripture and I was like, oh God, I get it. I shouldn't be afraid to say something to him because he's supposed to be more seasoned. Peter walked with Jesus. He walked on water. He was there when he got arrested. He's the church the rock was built on. You know what I'm saying? And he had all of these experiences, and Paul only been saved after some incident on Damascus Road for like a couple of years, right? And so he should be a novice, and Peter should be like, dude, you won't know nothing. But Paul had to check him because of the way he was treating members of God's house, his family, the people. And when I got it, I was like, oh, so age, the bias of age disappeared from me. And me and him actually had a dialogue in which, unfortunately, that's a whole nother story, that the congregation was privy to. But I didn't have any fear, and I stood in my authenticity and stood in the truth because I had gotten a spiritual revelation. And so a lot of times, now, and I brought this up for a reason, all of these dots going to connect. I'm going to condense the story so it's not too long. A lot of times, especially with women, they do not show up authentically because usually they got to address their trauma. We've been talking about being vulnerable, owning your story, and all of this stuff. So like really think about this and put it all together. But if your mother allowed your daddy to abuse you or was your biggest competitor, because there are a lot of women that deal with moms that are jealous of them, coming out and being authentic and standing in their power, even if they don't tell their story, could have their mother looking at them like, oh, wait a minute, so you shining now? Because they, you know what I'm saying? So they don't want to speak their truth or they don't want to show up. And so it's the age dynamic. It becomes the hierarchy of the family and who's the elder and so on and so forth. So there's all kinds of reasons why people don't show up as their authentic self. So even fast forward, once again, I spoke at the family reunion and one of my aunts was like, you know, I was always worried about you, August, and I'm just so proud of the woman that you became. And me and her actually had a private conversation. And I was like, hey, you an entrepreneur just like me. When you was selling silver, you called me. When you was doing the deregulation of utility companies all the way back in the day, you called me. Every time you had an entrepreneurial thing, you obviously saw something in me that you wanted to know if I wanted to be in your downline, but you never called me and said, how are you doing? How are your children? How is your marriage? You a young lady. I know you staying on your phone. On your own. Do you need anything? I said, so I ain't gonna even lie to you, auntie. I was kind of put back now that we in private by the fact that you said that to me. Oh my God, I'm so concerned about you, but I'm proud of the woman that you became. You don't have a right to say that to me because you never exercised any concern. And, you know, and I didn't necessarily say it as rough, but I did use those words. And I explained it to her. I said, you're no different than the rest of the family that was not there. Nobody checked on me. I've been doing this journey without y'all for a very, very long time. Now, I'm cool. I'm not mad at anybody. That's why I was able to facilitate, you know, with the family reunion and all of these things. Somebody else would have been like, oh my God, you said that? I did. And you want to know what happened? We talked on the phone for about an hour with her understanding more about me and just saying, man, after all that you went through and to know that, you know, this happened and that happened and now I'm putting the bullet points together. She didn't feel disrespected or slighted because I wasn't disrespectful. I honored my truth. And so you have to set the standard. You teach people how to treat you. So I'm telling y'all, when I say that I'm authentic and I show up as me, it doesn't even mean that I'm perfect. If I make a mistake, I will also authentically go back and apologize. But there's no big I's and no little U's. Respect is respect. It doesn't have an age. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a spiritual denomination. If you want it, you have to require it. And when people show you that they will do otherwise, you don't even be mad at them. You keep it pushing. That could have been the last conversation that she and I would have had. I'm positive that it is not.
Yeah. Wow. It seems so difficult though, August, because I feel like you get really punished by your family or by anybody who you care about the moment you establish boundaries. You know, the moment you say, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to be, this is how it's going to be, this is how I'm running my life. You know, you get, it's like a punishment that happens. People will either stop supporting you or they'll stop, you know, being, you know, whatever they were to you. And I think that's a really difficult thing for people to really combat, because, you know, we all are humans and we desire connection on some level. And so when you establish those boundaries and people rebuke you, for lack of a better term, because now they can't treat you how they want, I think sometimes it's easy. I understand it probably is not the best, but sometimes it seems easier to just let people feel how they want to about you, and you continue to just get whatever you were getting out of the situation. Do you ever run into that with any of your clients or the people you speak with?
Heck yeah. But the question is, are they really supporting you, or are they really supporting the image of looking like a good person? My family used to do that. They would tell me but it's the truth. There are certain members in my family that would call me stupid and tell me I ain't have common sense behind closed doors. I was going to grow up to be the kind of woman that needs somebody else's man. But let there be an event and they needed me to be I didn't heard some things. But let there be an event and they need me to be the speaker there. Oh my God, August, she's so articulate. She's so smart. She got photographic memory. Then why? Because then they get to tout I'm in their family. You're the such and such person that helped raise me or something of that nature. So was it really for me or was it really for them? And so, yeah, of course, the boundaries come up, and it does feel like a punishment if you don't have faith and believe that you can actually develop new relationships. People say that they would rather embrace the devil that they got in their life rather than the potential one that they don't know or they don't see. Nobody wants to embrace the unknown, but that's also you not believing that you are as much as required to attract a different set of people that will respect those boundaries and love you where you're at. I personally believe that it's ingrained in us that there is an emotional attachment. See, for me, it's one of those things where if Kim can't do this to me, then why can my mother do it to me? Is it because of the label of mother? So for me, I take off labels. I don't care if you grandma, auntie, sister, cousin, / whatever. The behavior that you've exercised, is it okay? And so a lot of times people don't understand that if you don't set the bar, if you don't call people to a higher level of behavior towards you, then they will continue to surrender to what they're used to as well. I actually had probably about 3 years. My grandmother, rest in peace now, rest in power, where I did not have a relationship with her because she would not respect those boundaries. But something happened and she reached out to me and she was like, I want you to come around. And there was a big old thing with my grandfather being sick and all of that stuff. I said, we got to have a private conversation. I was like, when your daughter did this to me, you had something to say. But if a chick named Keisha on the street did the same thing to me, it would have been horrible. With your daughter is be happy you got an auntie. With this person to be like, oh, no, she didn't. I said, I just need you to either let us be adults and handle it, or I need you to be the true matriarch of the family and speak to what's true and to speak to what's just. And I talked to her about a couple of things where she stood in the gap for the family, where I felt left out, why I felt left out, even after I, apologized and owned up for, because I had an attitude, I had bad behavior. My mama gave me up when I was 18 months. I'm not talking like I was some victim and everything was wrong with me. Even after all of the years of apologizing and trying, I was like, wait a minute, now that I'm correcting my behavior, I'm not stuck in these relationships because that's what happens. Like in a marriage, if the husband is, abusive and you say something smart, you'll be like, well, if I didn't say something smart, then you find a way to own it. So I took my bitterness out of the equation so that I wouldn't have to own the negativity in the relationship. So I was able to withdraw. But when I came back, I said, Granny, I can stay around, but I got to know that you will always put your best effort forward to be true, not be perfect. Once again, to my surprise, my grandmother cried. She apologized. She acknowledged what she did. She told me that she understood, and she never did those things again. But who's willing to take that chance?
Yeah.
Because it's your grandma. I didn't disrespect her. I isolated myself when people just treat me like I'm a punching bag. I can't take that many hits. Right. And then when the opportunity came back around for me to be in the midst of the family, I said, these are the terms. And it was either for it to be accepted or not accepted. Me and my grandmother had terms. I was in communication with her, not with everybody else as much, because I understood that you can't be around August unless you're going to love me. Not be perfect with me, but you got to love me because I'm going to love you. I'm not going to be perfect, but you're never going to judge my intentions. You're going to always say her heart is in the best spot, and that by far everything that she did was as close to being an appropriate action versus like, well, I know you meant good, but this was stupid. That ain't going to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. There's so much courage there. I think that's what I keep coming back to is the you have to take the enoughness. You know, it's not something you have to. It's an active motion of claiming your enoughness, even when you're not sure, or even when you are. What was the term again? As much as required, right? Isn't that the term?
Yes. Yes,
that
as much as required.
Powerful to me, because we can go through any number of things in our life that can reinforce feelings of insecurity or lack or anything, and so understanding and actively participating in the thought that I am as much as is required, that's just so powerful, and for myself, as I continue to learn and grow, I'm okay with it. Like I'm if it means I can't do something, or someone doesn't want to be around me, or I can't live without the boundaries, and I'm learning to add more and more and more, because of just what you said. It's like, are you really here for me, or are you here for you? That was deep. I think all of us, anybody watching this, think about the people who are in your life. Are they there for you, or are they there for them because they just want to, ride for free off of your energy, or your popularity, or your talents, or your brightness, or whatever it is that's special about you? Like, people just want pieces of you, but they don't want to nourish you. I just think that's so good. Oh my goodness, that's so good. I gotta listen back to this like a couple times. You just be laying it out. Listen, so we have to wrap up eventually, just because it's part of the process. But
right.
I want you to do two things for me. One, I want you to give us a thought exercise. I want you to give us a thought exercise, because when we're listening to this stuff and we're just going about our daily, somebody might have their phone propped up on the counter, they washing dishes or doing whatever. I want us to really start to practice implementing mentally and emotionally the things that we need, because once we get that awareness built in, we can start to identify things don't look the same anymore, just because you're starting to build that awareness. And the next thing I want you to do is really tell us how we can get a hold of you, how anybody who's watching this live can connect with you and work with you, or just be in your presence, because you have a very healing, direct, transparent way of presenting hard truths. And we need that. That's one of the things we do with Empower You Podcast, is we have tough conversations, and because we have to pave the path. And there's many paths, right? But more times than not, the ones we need to be following are the ones that are not paved, right? There's all these acceptable things we're supposed to do, and we live these acceptable lives that really don't equate to anything. You still dealing with the same trauma you dealt with when you were 16. What does it matter whether you married and got children now? Like, what are you pouring into your kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, and even for myself, I coach people and I help people, but I have to understand constantly that my first priority is to keep pouring into myself, because that's the only way I can truly be of service to other people. And that requires having boundaries. That requires cultivating a very mindful group of people around me. And that, that's bravery. So what's our thought exercise, and how do we get a hold of you?
I want people to go into the past. So there's this book called The Power of Now, and it talks about how you need to be in the now. But whether we want to admit it or not, most of us are so eager to get away from our current situation in life. We want to get to the future. I can't stand it now. I got to go ahead and make multiple six figures in my business. Or you're constantly running from your past. You don't want to be around anything like it, because your family, your situations remind you like of all of the failures and things that went wrong. And so I want everyone to make a habit of looking at a time in your life, possibly when you have had the greatest level of resentment, anger, felt like you were alone, or anything negative that you can think of, and say, I'm going to intentionally find the positive side to this. So I could go back, for instance, and look in the past and say, you know what? I remember when I wanted to get a car. My grandparents co-signed for cars and houses for everybody. Here it was. I had been responsible, paying my own bills. They would not do it for me. Rather than focus on the fact that, look at them, see, I'm the black sheep and the person I want to support. I'm like, you know what? I remember how I found that job that I needed really quick to earn the money to do the down payment. I remember walking all the way from my house for 2 miles to get to a Metro Link because I lived in the suburbs. After I found this job, there was no bus that would get me there. I could catch that bus and get all the way out to take my daughter to daycare and then catch the bus to go to school. I did that for 90 days, and I did something all the way back in 1997 that people wouldn't have been able to do. And I bought a car and only had a job for 90 days. There were no buy here, pay here lots. And so then when I think about that story, I'm going to say to myself, so what does that say about me? I'm relentless. If I want something, even if people tell me no or they won't help me, I'm going to get it anyway. I got a job. I got a car in a time frame that most laws and stuff wouldn't allow. So that means I'm the kind of person that defies the odds, and I want you to really look at the essence of what you went through and how you overcame it. Only focus on you. And then whatever you're dealing with in your life, think about it and say, okay, so I've already proven through my own experience that I'm relentless and I'm going to get what I want, even if people tell me no, and that I can defy the odds. So if I'm struggling with something in my business and it looks like it's not working, I'm going to be able to do this because I'm not going to stop until I get it. And if it looks like things are going against me because of, my ad strategy or the competition, even though I'm only supposed to be looking at myself, I'm still going to knock it out the park, and I'm going to stay consistent without tripping off the time, because at the end of the day, I'm going to defy the odds anyway. It's going to happen sooner, faster than I could have. Because you know what? That's the mark that's on my life. That's what happens all the time. So that's what I do on a regular basis. When I find myself coming up against something, I'll be like, wait a minute. So you don't remember back in the day when you got the job making this kind of money, or when you stepped in your power, you raised your prices. Don't you remember you were braiding hair and you lost 2 clients, but you got 5? Girl, go ahead and raise your prices in your business now, because even if the new clients, the clients that you thought were going to upgrade and renew their contracts don't, that means you got 2, 3, you're going to get twice as many people that's going to come and accept your new rate. You have your past experience. We shouldn't forget our past. We need to reapproach our past and have a different perspective on a more positive light of what the past actually means, because then we begin to see what we're capable of. We get to see what the divine is truly spoken over our lives. And I don't care. You give me the ugliest situation, I will show you the sweet spot in it. If I can do it, you can do it for yourself. So that's the mindfulness exercise. Think about something that you overcame. Go ahead and pick the ugliest. Look at all of the characteristics you had to exhibit to overcome it. Now take those characteristics, the words that you come up to describe yourself, and speak life into your current situation, personal, professional, relationship-wise, or whatever, because you got internal proof. So it's not a Bible quote. It's not a made up affirmation. When you speak these words, it's going to trigger something in your energy because you're speaking directly from your own life, which means the affirmations will have a greater impact. So that's the mindfulness exercise. I'm gonna stop. You want to say something more?
Oh my goodness. That's so much. That is so much, and it's so powerful, because I can only speak for myself. You do really have moments in your life that you just don't forget, and then a lot of them sometimes are very negative, and you felt a certain type of way. And I'm the type of person, I'm going to go through whatever, but I'm never going to forget how you acted. I'm just never going to forget it. And we could be cool and everything like that, but just know that I know. And I feel that way about myself too. So I didn't turn that on myself, and I'm just like, bruh, remember when you did this? I don't even forget the things that I do. So to think about them in a different way, look at how you overcame that situation in spite of everything else. Now attach yourself to that. Like it's a game changer.
Man, don't think about how they tried to play you and use with racism and you didn't get the scholarship. Think about how even though you went through all the BS and had to write the papers and maybe call the news, how at the end of the day you was the one you was the fixer. You got it done.
Yeah.
You gotta see what's possible versus seeing all the obstacles that came at you. Don't look at the obstacles, look at how you overcame, because you're constantly overcoming something, which is technically overcoming yourself. So if you want to see what you're capable of doing, show the association. And if you do this with enough stories, you're gonna begin to see that. Yeah, so I got 51 million stories about how I've been relentless in my life. Like, I don't call myself that. Just like the thing with the pastor, where I was raw and real. These are not just made up words that sound cute and because it's alliteration, and I think it's marketable or something. I got stories to tell where that line up with it. And then when you see me in my current action, and I guarantee you when you see it in my future actions, you'll be like, yep, that's her. She is Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I'm speaking who I am. I'm not making something up.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Y'all got some homework today. Homework.
Sir.
Oh my gosh. This has been incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh my goodness. Anytime. Y'all just wait till I put some conferences together. Y'all not even ready. Y'all listen.
I'm down.
Folks not even ready, August.
I'm down.
Listen.
I am so down.
So listen, how do we get a hold of you? How do we follow you? How do we work with you? There's ladies, a lot, especially ladies in Fort Wayne, who are wrestling with some things, and they got their own businesses and things like that. How do they tap in?
Absolutely. The shortest, quickest way, if you are already interested, then you go to workwithauguste.com, and it don't make a difference. I got it if they spell the name wrong, but it's August with an E, AUGUSTE.com. But go there, look at the case study video. You feeling it, you vibing with it, then we'll talk from there. But if you're like, okay, let me just see, you want to do a little bit more due diligence, then those of you that are watching on Facebook, go ahead and click the link. But if you Google me, then you're going to see I'm everything Auguste Crenshaw. The only place I'm not Auguste Crenshaw is on Twitter. I'm Created75, but my Twitter account, all of those things should come up. I've got a podcast, Real Women Don't Bitch. At the end of the day, if you just Google Auguste Crenshaw, you're gonna find me. You're gonna find me on Instagram. You're gonna find me on LinkedIn. You're gonna find me on Facebook. I am on Facebook more than anywhere else. That's my main wheelhouse. I do a lot of live videos. And that's where you'll be able to engage me the most to really get a feel for me. But yeah, Auguste Crenshaw, all things Auguste Crenshaw.
Listen, and she's tagged in this video. So go ahead and send her a follow and write her a note. Post something in the comments and just say thank you. There's a lot of you got to go to the places emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and come back with the type of insight that August has. You don't just arrive with it. You go through something to get it, and then you show other people. And that's what I think is so valuable, because you don't got to do that. Like, you can definitely take all the information and the wisdom that you have and keep it to yourself and just work. But you know that's part of your purpose, is to give to other people. And so at the very least, we can slide over there and just say thank you and show you a follow. Again, that's Auguste Crenshaw everywhere. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Incredible. I love it.
I'm excited. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me pour into your tribe. This is part of what I really, truly love to do. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that you all are blessed. And please, the part where I was speaking about the thought exercise, listen to it like 5 or 6 times so you don't miss the instruction. You're like, oh, all she said was, no, like really, really listen, because I want you all to internalize it. I gave you a brief snippet of something that I take people through. But it is a game changer. We change the way we see ourselves. We change the way we show up. We change the world.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Okay, y'all. We got homework. We need to go say hey to August and tell her thank you. And we also need to do this thought exercise. I know I'm going to do it, because I got the more efficiently I can get past my own issues, the quicker and the more efficiently I can show up for myself, for other people I care about. And that's the real joy, right? Is to be healed, you know? Yeah.
Yes,
So,
big facts.
thank you all so much for being here. August, any last words before we shut this thing down?
Nah, I'm good. We've been to start a whole nother other conversation.
Listen, I'm going to see you Thursday, right?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday.
Friday
Is it
and Saturday.
Thursday? Friday?
I'm going to be in town on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm top heavy at the beginning since we're not gonna be. I'll be there Friday morning though. We'll be at the mastermind meeting. It's going down.
I know. I can't wait. I will see you there. Thank you so much to everybody out there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Go to August's page. Tell her thank you, and we're gonna see y'all in another episode probably next week. All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you later. Peace. EmpowerYou Podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you.